all of our classes now that we run, with a very rare exception, are all available to broadcast online. Now, that was our commitment after the first of the year, so that when you're out in the field, you're busy, you can put it on your phone and put it on the seat next to you. You can watch it later, pre-recorded. Sometimes it's difficult to get here for in-person classes, so I so much appreciate that you are here today. Good to go? All right. So today we're going to be learning about personality matching sales techniques. We talked a minute ago about how all of us in this room have some variation of a different type of a personality, right? And we can immediately think of someone that we know in our personal or business life that we really like, and probably think of someone we've done business with, maybe even recently, who was a little challenging. And part of that is because we have different personality types. So Dr. Gary Smalley is a family counselor, president and founder of the Smalley Relationship Center, and author of books on family relationships from a Christian perspective. Among other issues, he teaches about the 4 temperaments in a format based well-known animals: the otter, the lion, the golden retriever, and the beaver. So this is also called the DISC assessment. So if you've ever done the DISC assessment, it is a training that a lot of growth organizations provide. But this individual, Dr. Smalley, decided to bring it in the form of animals to make it more relatable. And also he taught it to young people, so they were able to relate to these. And it also helps us to remember because we have a point of reference. What if you had automatic ability to instantly understand and appeal to the personalities and behaviors of your prospects? Just within a few minutes of shaking their hand, being able to immediately know what personality type they had, because it will absolutely change the way that you do business with them. Would that affect your power and your success? Would the results be amazingly positive? I would say yes. Learning how to improve your personal ability to connect with others. Using the power of analysis of other personalities and implementing personality matching techniques. So today's course objectives, what we're going to learn, we're going to determine your primary personality type. What if I have multiple personalities? That's not probably going to be in this slide, but overview the 4 different types of personalities, how to determine others' prominent types, and how to appeal to other personality types. So how do we interact with those people in a daily basis? How much of your business is relational? A lot, right? Like a ton. So have you ever dealt with an agent more than 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and you know when they call, oh, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one. It's going to be smooth. We're going to have great communication, right? Their personality type is one that you appreciate, and probably one that meshes well with your personality type. So these are the 4 personality types broken down into quadrant. We have dominance, which is the lion, right? How someone addresses problems and challenges. Influence, which is the otter. Steadiness, evenness, which is the golden retriever. And then compliance, meaning this is someone that you might want reviewing your contracts. They're a compliant personality. You also have more direct and indirect communicators. So the lion tends to be a very direct communicator. Lion doesn't really hold back when they have a thought process, right? The golden retriever tends to be a good listener, more of a steady. Compliance tends to be a little more shy, and as we start to talk about the otter, you'll see that the otter has nobody that's not their friend. All right, who likes to tell stories in this situation? Who doesn't like to be pressured? And so we're going to learn of these 4 types, basically how you want to interact with them. And I want you to start thinking right away about which one of these sounds like me, because I'm going to describe each one in great detail, and you should be able to start to figure out which one you are. So the lion and the otter are direct. They get to the point. The lion says, I want this report on my desk by 2 o'clock. And there isn't a whole lot of chatter about it. The otter is also direct. But the golden retriever and the beaver tend to be a little bit more indirect, and they don't like to be pressured. All right. This is the one I have a question about, Greg, extroverted and introverted, and we'll talk a little bit about this one. Those are backwards. We're going to skip that one because I knew one of them was backwards. All right. So let's talk about the lion. In public personalities, you're probably going to identify some people that are lions and be able to quickly think of who they are. But it's business first and friends second, right? Strengths: visionary, practical, productive, strong-willed, independent, and they're decisive, and they are leaders. But if they have a weakness, it tends to be that they're cold, They're domineering, unemotional, self-sufficient, unforgiving, sarcastic, and cruel. That's how they're perceived, right? Think of anyone that you know that could potentially be like that, right? So that is the description of a lion. Okay, the otter. Friends first, business if we get around to it. Their strengths are outgoing and responsive. They tend to be warm, they're friendly, talkative, enthusiastic, compassionate. But their weaknesses are they tend to be a little undisciplined at times, unproductive. They kind of exaggerate. They're people that'll upgrade your response. So let's try this. Tiana, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
How you been? How you doing?
Great, great.
I'm excellent. You know, they tend to want to go higher than you. I'm good. I'm great. You know, they want to. I had a word called amazing. I mean, everything's amazing, right? It's amazing. So these are individuals who would be outspoken and very responsive to you. The golden retriever is friends first, business second. Their strengths are that they're calm and easygoing. They're dependable. They're typically more quiet, although they can be a little bit conversational, but they're more thought out. They're objective and diplomatic, and they're also humorous. But their weakness is they tend to be a little selfish. They could be a bit of a procrastinator, a little unmotivated and indecisive, definitely fearful and definitely worryful. They're anxious people, but they're very good if you need somebody to talk to. I'm going to give you a tip. This is actually the best personality type to deal with in a transaction. Golden retriever. And you're going to see why as we start to move forward. I didn't say best personality type to have. I said best personality type to deal with in a transaction, in my humble opinion. All right, the beaver. All business, not a lot of social. Friends come second. They're analytical, very self-disciplined. They're industrious, they're organized, they're aesthetic, meaning that if you walk into their office, there is but a laptop, maybe a sheet of paper and a pen, absolutely no clutter. Their weakness, though, is that they tend to be self-centered, very focused on what they're doing, moody, a little touchy, a little sensitive. They can come across negative, unsociable. They're critical of others that aren't like them, and they can be a little revengeful quietly. So that would be your beaver, your compliance. We joke, we say this is an individual that reads the Xerox copy manual for fun, okay? Now, that being said, this is an individual that you probably want looking over your contracts, right? Probably so, because they're not going to miss any line. They're going to see everything. So here's the question. What is your prominent personality type? Is it dominance, influence, steadiness, or compliance? Let's find out together. Are you a lion, an otter, a golden retriever, or a beaver? And Greg and I, we know our personality types very well because it's very obvious. But I'd like you to start to figure out what yours are and maybe one other person that you know, because I think it'd be really cool to see how their personalities match up. What are your most challenging personality types to be versatile with? Well, we think about how the lion addresses individuals. They're very to the point, they're blunt. And then when you think about the way that the beaver might receive that, that could come across a little bit difficult. And then when you think about the way that the otter doesn't know a stranger. So there's an old joke. If all four of these personality types were on the Titanic, this is how they would each respond. So the lion would say, we just hit an iceberg. Everybody get your stuff together. Lifeboats on 3. When I say go, we go, right? The golden retriever would be huddling all the women and children together and telling them a story. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Everybody calm down. Captain's got this. The hole's not that big, right? The beaver would be calculating the distance from the other ship, the Mauretania, how long till it gets here? How many hours do we have? And the otter would be going, with all this water spilling over the bridge, we're going to have a heck of a pool party. So you see how those interact? They're very different in the way they approach that, right? And they interact differently with each other. Let's talk about the lion's personality characteristics. In their environment, their office, right? Their home office, their room, lots of projects and awards on the wall. They want you to know that they're the lion, right? They probably have a large calendar and big office furniture. It's very formal and arranged as if they're very important. They gain security by being in control of every situation that they're in. So they want to actually be the one in the driver's seat. They don't like to be reliant on anyone else. They want to be the ones in control. What is their pace? Fast and decisive. Bring me the information, let me make a decision, and let's move on. We don't want a lot of small talk about how your Easter was. I want to talk about business. What are their needs? They need a climate that responds. They're not good waiting in an airport for lots of long periods of time because in their mind, they could do it better. I could have this plane off the ground by now, right? They get irritated by wasted time, people who are unprepared, people who argue or are blocking the results of getting done what they want to get done. What do they need to do for their own personal growth to get better? They need to appear a bit less critical. They need to be a little bit more respectful of people's personal worth. They need to develop tolerance for conflict and pace themselves accordingly. And so when you're interacting with a lion or someone you've identified as being a lion, here's what you want to avoid. Don't attack his or her character, telling them what to do and presenting them with win-lose scenarios. All right, you're either going to take the deal or you're not. What's it going to be? Not how you want to approach a lion, because guess what they're going to tell you? Deal's off. Deal is off, right? So you have to understand that when you're dealing with a lion, you have to finesse more. How do you connect with them? Be efficient and to the point. Be efficient and to the point. Have you ever gotten on an appointment, go out to show a home, and you're fumbling through your paperwork and stuff? If that's a lion that's with you, they want you to be 15 minutes early. They want you to have the entire lookup on the property. They want you to know, get them in the house and get them out of the house quickly. Where this gets complicated is spouses aren't always the same personality type. Oh, so I got to throw you a curveball. So you got to deal with both of them, right? So you got to know how to deal with both of them. All right. Provide them with options and information on what it does and give them the freedom to act immediately. So if you love this home, we can make an offer today. We can have it accepted within 24 hours if it's a good offer. They want that type of responsiveness. They are not going to hem and haw. General strategies: be efficient and competent, support their goals and objectives. If you disagree, argue the facts and not personal feelings. Don't say, they don't like words like energy. This home feels so nice. It's got really good energy. I don't like that. They want to know how many square feet, when was the roof put on, right? Just give me the facts. They don't understand all that other, this place has good vibes. They don't understand that. That's not their language. So you can't talk in that language with them. Please be time disciplined and well organized. Focus on the results or the bottom line. Do not waste their time. If you do a listing presentation with one of these personalities, with a lion, you have to come prepared, get to the point, and go. If you sit there and you drag the appointment out, they're going to see that you're an inefficient agent and that you're not going to focus on getting their house sold because you're too busy talking to people. So hopefully you can start to think of someone you know that fits this personality type. And by the way, this is not a bad personality type. A lot of leaders are this personality type. A lot of people that wind up in positions of leadership in companies and other things are this personality type. Believe me, they get things done. So it's not bad. It's just a matter of how they interact. Okay, the otter, the social butterfly. Trust me, lighten up. What's the big deal? Their environment tends to be cluttered. Stuff everywhere. Put it in the drawer, we'll deal with it later. Awards and slogans on the wall, personal pictures, very friendly. They gain security by flexibility. Hey, you want to meet at 3-ish, right? Do that with a lion? Can't do it. But with an otter, 3-ish works. Their pace, fast and spontaneous. You guys want to grab lunch later today? That is an otter. They want to be spontaneous. They don't like to plan, especially for long periods of time. It takes the fun out of it. They need a climate that collaborates. So you guys want to just move this into the conference room? I mean, let's just go in there. That is fun for an otter. That's destabilizing for a lion because we're in this room. Why are we moving? That seems stupid. That room's smaller. Otter's but it's more fun in there. The walls are prettier, right? They're irritated by too many facts. Please don't give me all the facts of the contract. Just where does my client need to sign? Too much logic, boring tasks like prospecting, making your phone calls tend to really bore these personality types. The same old approach, routine. I'm going to tell you something. Otters don't stay home a lot. They want to be out. Where's the next mixer, right? Is there one in town tonight? Hopefully there's one every night. They don't like being alone. If they're alone at the house, they're probably there for maybe an hour, and then they're like, let me call somebody, I gotta get out of here. Can't stand being by myself. And they don't like to be ignored. They want an immediate response. I texted them, why haven't they responded? It says red, what's going on here? They haven't responded, they need that. For growth, they need to respect priorities, be more logical, follow through, get better organized, right? Concentrate on the task at hand. And if you want to avoid, this is so important, never go negative with them. Once you say to an otter, you know, you didn't do that on time, I don't appreciate that, they're done with you forever. They're never coming back because you've hurt them. Otters get hurt, and when you reject them, they're done. They're just like, okay, that's cool. Oh, that's an icky feeling person. I don't want to deal with them. That makes me feel not good. Okay, that is something you do not want to do with them. If you want to connect with them, be interesting. Don't be boring, be interesting. Give them quality information that will enhance their status, increase their talent, and originality and uniqueness. Okay, so how can we relate this to homes? I think this is the perfect house for you, Tiana, because number one, it's in a beautiful community. Number two, I know you said you like to entertain. Can you only imagine when your friends come over and see this beautiful home? That is what's going to excite her about this property. It's not going to be the 10-year warranty on the AC, yawn. It's not going to be the roof, boring. It's going to be the courtyard out back where the pool is, where she's going, man, we can throw some big parties out here. That's what's going. So let me give you a tip. Do you think that these make up most of the realtors that you deal with? I think otters, or a lot of realtors are otters, right? Social people, right? You ever go to Florida Realtors over in Orlando? A lot of otters, people talking, hey, everybody's your friend, hugging, right? I don't remember this person's name, but it's okay. There are a lot of otters in our business. There's other personality types too, but there's a lot of otters in our business. So when you're dealing with an otter, here's a tip. Get it in writing. Get it in writing. If they tell you, oh yeah, sellers will take that deal, no problem. Yeah, I'll get back to you in a little while. We're good, man, we're good. Get it in writing. Because just as soon as they say that, someone else calls them, they forget your conversation, and they're on to the next one. And that's just how they operate. You have to understand that. So if you quickly identify that the person is scattered, overly bubbly on the phone, there's probably a reason for that. They're probably an otter, great people, really well-intentioned, get it in writing. Just telling you. And if you need to, if you're working with an otter and you need to have them remember a timeline, remind them. Hey, just wanted to remind you about tomorrow's inspection deadline. Remind them. They will not remember. They just won't. It's not how, their mind is already 10 miles forward in a different direction. All right, the golden retriever, or what we call the steady personality. Why change? Let's work together. Let's collaborate. Their environment is family pictures, slogans on the wall, personal items. They're relaxed and friendly. They tend to be somebody you can go to for advice. You can say, hey, I got to bounce this off you. And they're very steady and calm. You know they're going to give you solid advice. They're not going to be super emotional or very negative, right? They gain security by having close relationships with friends and family. Their circles tend to be relatively small. They don't have huge circles of influence. They have their peeps, if you will, and that's them, right? They tend to work slow and easy. They need a climate that processes things, so that there's got to be a system to it. They're irritated by pushy and aggressive behavior, insincerity. They really don't want to be put on the spot. Here's the microphone. Can you come up and speak for a minute? They don't like that. And they don't like disrupting the status quo. They don't like change. They like things. They set their world up. This is how we want to do it. For growth, they need to take more risks, be willing to delegate to others, confront and develop confidence in others on their team, and learn to change and adapt. If you want to avoid any behavior with a golden retriever, it's conflict or sudden, unplanned, risky changes, and overloading or confusing information all at once. They want things to be predictable. Predictable is safe. Predictable is good, because I know what's coming tomorrow. I don't want to go on a trip. So when an otter goes on a trip with a golden retriever, it's crazy, Because the otter's like, man, when we get there, we'll figure out what we're going to do. There'll be something to do with the hotel, man. Well, you know, and the golden retriever's like, no, 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 no. We need to figure out what we're doing for the week. We need an itinerary. Otter says, an itinerary? We're on vacation. Tear this itinerary up. I don't want to know what I'm doing, right? It really is an interesting dynamic. And you're dealing with these people in your business all day. You just didn't know it until today, that you're dealing with one of these personality types. And as soon as you can identify which one they have, you'll know how to work with them, okay? They want you to be cooperative and pleasant. Golden retrievers also want you to give them assurances and information on how it will affect their circumstance. So if I buy this home, what will it do to my HOA? What will it do to my taxes? How's that going to affect me and my family? They're logical in the way they perceive this. It's not emotional. Remember, we said that you were going to be thinking about parties and all. The HOA will deal with that later, but think about the parties. That's the otter. Golden retriever, not so much. They want to think more in the reality. Reliability and assistance in presenting to others. Their general strategies tend to be non-threatening communication, very sincere, showing personal interest in supporting their feelings. Don't push them, move them along in a slow manner. So can you see how this can help you? Because you know how you meet some buyers and they're ready to go right now, like, can I meet you at the house, right? You meet other ones that are like, you know, we really been thinking about building. We're probably going to go out in a couple weeks and take a look. And what do you immediately think? Oh, they're not serious. They don't want to buy today, right? But that just could be their personality type, is they want to have a really long thought out plan, because this is the biggest purchase of their life, or their second or third biggest purchase of their life. And they want to know that they've got a strategy. And going out and doing this on the weekend, who's ever sold a house after one showing, right? I went out with Sharon Steck on a Saturday. It was a $300,000 house. Her husband, Rich, wasn't even in town. I showed Sharon the house. She goes, we'll take it. Made a $300,000 decision in less than 30 minutes, closed 21 days later. Her personality type, a lion. No problem making that decision. Didn't necessarily even need Rich there to make it. He saw the house the day of closing on the walkthrough. Now that was nerve-wracking. Hey, I'd like to show you your home you're closing on in 10 minutes. Boy, I hope you like it, right? We walk through, he goes, you've done real good, Dan. You've done real good. I go, oh gosh, that makes me feel better because the paperwork's already ready. But a golden retriever could not operate that way. Like, there's got to be more planning. We got to go home and talk about it. In today's market, the golden retrievers struggle a little bit because of where inventory is. And because when you make an offer, you got to be ready to go on the next one if it doesn't get accepted. Mm-hmm. You don't have the luxury of being analytical in this market, do you? What happens if you're analytical? Where's the house? Gone, mm-hmm. Right? So we've got to overcome that. Something we can do to help overcome that would be to provide them more information before we go out to the property, right? Give them an opportunity to review everything they need to before they go out to the property. So those are things to understand about a golden retriever. All right, a beaver. Do it right and prove it. And I have a specific example I'd like to share with you before we go through this about a beaver. And it was this. When was the roof put on? And I looked it up before I left the office, and I think it was 2010. So I said it was around 2010. Now, for most of us that aren't a beaver, around 2010 is a perfectly good response. I mean, we know the roof gets 20 to 30 years of life, right? Mm-hmm. So around 2010, I feel pretty good about that. This individual stepped back and said, around 2010? Yeah. Like, is that like 2005 or 2015? What are we talking about here? I was like, well, no, I think it was around 2000. And right then I knew I had lost, because they wanted to know when the roof was put on. See, in my world, around 2010 is when it was put on. But in their world, March of 2010 is when it was put on. Do you see the difference? You can't tell them closing costs will be about 3%. That's not going to work for them. So just know that going in. They're the ones that want all the extra information on the listings you send them. Tell me about the school zone. Tell me about the crime rate. Tell me about the taxes. Tell me, is there a CDD? They want to know all of it. And then they'll decide if they like the home, right? So they want structured, organized. They like charts and graphs, functional decor, formal seating arrangement. Remember, their home office is very tidy. They have a file system for everything. Here's where my contracts go. Here's where my listings go. Many personality types are like, where's my contracts? Where's my listings? Not this personality type. Their pace is slow and systematic. They need a climate that describes things specifically. They get irritated by people who don't know what they're talking about. See, I lost credibility with this individual because I said around 2010. Immediately, I wasn't a professional to them. Because in my mind, I was giving them great information. I mean, shoot, I knew it was around 2010. I thought that was pretty darn good. Not for them. No, no, no. They're irritated by people who don't know what they're talking about and have a lack of attention to detail, right? Don't go out and show homes without having the listing documents with you, because they're going to ask you the price and the square footage, and you have to know it. For growth, they need to make faster decisions, tolerate conflict, and learn to compromise a little and change with disorganization. The world does not work like these folks work. So they stay a little bit frustrated all the time because the world is chaos, right? The world is fast food. The world is quick. They want things to be more organized, and that's not how it works. So they have to learn to be a little uncomfortable and be okay with the fact that your Post-it notes are all over the place and all that, because that's the way the world goes. Avoid criticizing them and with blunt personal questions. Don't get super personal with this personality type because they just don't want to go there, right? Now let's back up to the otter. You can go as personal as you want with the otter. They'll tell you more than you ever want to know. But the beaver, and once we go personal, they shut down. They won't communicate with us anymore. So they want you to be accurate and precise. Give them evidence and how they can logically justify systematic plans. When you're doing a seller's net sheet for them, be very detailed. This is what you're going to earn when you sell your home down to the $500. I mean, as close as you can get it, because they need to know how it's going to really impact them. That's important. Make sure that anything that you're reviewing is progressive, and make sure that it has a system to it. So when they ask you, how did you come up with these listings for me? Well, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, you told me that you wanted a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in the Trinity area. You did not want an HOA. So you have to show them you had a plan, that you didn't just plug something in the computer and come up with homes. Be thorough and well-planned. Support their thoughtful approach. Okay, so this is really hard for some of us to do if you happen to not be this personality type. Tolerating their need to get all the details, right? Because especially if you've worked with customers that don't have this personality where you can go in, look at the house, and get out, these folks, they hang around for a little while. They look at the whole house, don't they? They open up the blinds to see, they check the windows. They're going out in the garage. Well, what about this? Well, what about this? You're going, oh, well, what about this? They want to know. So you have to give them time to verify your words. This is in the Plant High School school zone. Is it? Right? I mean, we laughed, but is it? I mean, last time I checked, it was. They're going to go home, I promise you, and look it up. Realtor Dan told me it was in Plant High School zone. That's never going to be good enough for this person. They're going to verify it. And when you close with this individual, fully expect them to read the entire closing package. Because they want to know, what am I signing? Is this a bad thing, by the way? No. Can you see how this person reviewing your contracts could be pretty cool, right? You want an otter reviewing your contracts? No, you really don't. So, so that's a great thing. All right. So let's go through and talk a little bit. Who in this room thinks they might know their own personality type after what we just learned? Okay. All right. Who thinks they know somebody or have done business with somebody or has a friend with somebody who's one of those 4 personality types? Which of those personality types do you like personally the best? I'm going to go around the room. Which one do you like dealing with the most?
Otter.
Otter. Okay.
I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
If you had to pick one, which would you deal with?
Be the otter.
The otter. Okay. What do you think?
I'm with the otter.
Like to deal with the otter, right?
Business-wise,
Just in general, just socially.
Probably golden retriever.
Golden retriever. Very good.
That's what I say too, golden retriever.
Yeah. Otter.
Golden retriever.
Golden retriever. Yeah.
Lion.
Lion. Okay. So that really that shows me that you all have a little different perspective on what you perceive, and some of that's probably going to mirror back to your personality type and the one that you interact with the best, right? So by a show of hands, who thinks they personally are a lion? Got two in the room, two lions. Give it to me factual. I don't want to hem and haw a whole bunch about it. I'm certainly a nice and kind person, but I don't need all the fluff, right? I don't need all the extra. I just want to kind of get to the point, right? By a show of hands, who thinks that they are a beaver, a compliance person? Not a lot of beavers in our business. Do you know why? Why aren't there a lot of beavers in real estate?
Chaos.
Chaos. I mean, we live in chaos. What about networking? You think a beaver wants to network and really get out there? When we do this class live, we actually quadrant off by personality type when we have a bigger environment. And you'll see that the beavers are in this little tiny group, but they have every little thing meticulous. They got their signs on the wall. We give them little assignments to do, and everything's perfect. And there's this huge group of otters, and they're all talking and papers flying everywhere and stuff. And that's actually the majority of our industry, right? Right? Who thinks they're an otter? An otter? Okay. All right. And then golden retriever. Do you say golden retriever? Golden retriever. Okay. So steady. So here's
Could you be
something
two?
for you. Everybody is actually two.
Okay, good. That's what I was
Dominant
too.
and secondary personality type. So
Okay.
your dominant personality type is what your default is with no effort on your part. You just your default, this personality type. Your secondary personality type is what you've developed through life's lessons, through your parenting, through coaching and training, through having good and bad experiences. So let's talk about did any of you know the 4 managers in Florida Luxury Realty? Do you know all of them or any of them? So it might be cool to kind of see what personality types you think they are. So who knows Scott? Does everybody know Scott? Scott Barrett. So what personality type do you think Scott is?
Is he the beaver?
I would actually guess a beaver.
You're going to guess a beaver? Okay.
Lion.
Lion? Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay. So I mean, he can verify this, but I would see him more as probably a high golden retriever, and then of course maybe a beaver for compliance and structure and all that. That would be my interpretation of what I would sort of see him to be. How about in the public eye? Can we think of anyone who might be a lion without laughing?
No.
Yeah, sure he is. Get to the point. What are we hemming and hawing about, right? I don't want to sit here and talk about it all day. Let's get it done and move on, right? What, they were interviewing him the other day, and they asked him, well, why is the economy so good? He goes, I didn't know it was so complicated. I mean, this is what you do. You do this, a little of that, and it works. There's not a lot of hemming and hawing when it comes to the lion personality. Here's where it becomes a challenge. When you're dealing with interpersonal and you're trying to really get to know that individual, it can become very difficult to get to know them because they're very fact-based, and sometimes they can come across really impersonal. I worked for a lion for a really long time, and he just didn't understand what the big deal was with everything, And of course, as an employee, sometimes you want to talk through situations, you want a logical response, and he just couldn't understand that. He says, well, just do your job and I'll never yell at you. Simple, right? Like it's 1 + 1 is 2, right? And so we all know people like that. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to start analyzing people that you're working with, people that you know, and start to ask yourself, which of these criteria do they fit into? Because if you can figure that out, then you can realize how you can approach them. Let's give a real life example of this. I'm dealing with a lion. Remember I told you Sharon was a lion. There was no additional houses needed to be seen. She went in, she looked around, she made her decision. This is the one I want, called her husband Rich. I want this one, we're done. We don't need to talk about it, right? So for her, when I had to tell her that the closing costs were not going to be paid for by the seller, I had to do it in such a way where it was her idea. Because if I told her, well, they're never going to pay your closing costs, she would not have liked that. She would have gone back at me and pushed back on me because it needs to be her way. So what I said was, and this is just an example, I said, being that you're getting the home you want at the price you like in the community you love, I don't know if they'll be able to pay closing costs, but because you're asking, I will go ask them. How does that sound? And so she felt like she was in control. Ultimately, they said no, and I had a feeling they were going to say no, but I still presented what we do. But it was her idea. It was her being in the driver's seat. So can we make a lion feel comfortable in the driver's seat? Absolutely, right? And sometimes that means we have to be a little more humble in our approach. We have to admit we don't know everything sometimes, right? But we also have to give them the opportunity. How about an otter? What can we do to really help an otter? Well, we can download the calendar app to their phone. That's the first thing we can do. That'll be a start. We can send them reminder texts like we talked about earlier. We can anticipate, because of their personality, they're going to miss a signature on the listing agreement. We can anticipate that, and we can make sure that we fill the fields out for them so that when they're doing that agreement digitally, they can't miss something on the agreement. Otters will always miss something on the seller's disclosure. And you know what? When you ask them about it, they'll go, that part doesn't really matter. And they mean it. They don't see the big deal. So you can actually set yourself up to succeed by knowing their personality type. So let's talk quickly about a dream team real estate team. What personality type do you think would be the best to have as your team members on a real estate team?
Golden.
A golden, okay. What do you think? An otter? A lion?
I mean, it depends what position
How big's
you
your
have.
team? One of each.
All four.
Yeah.
Now you got it, right? So how could this work? In a perfect real estate team, people say, there's really a place for everybody in this world. So let's think about it. What would the otter do on the real estate team?
Pick up leads,
Pick up leads. What else would they do?
open houses.
Open houses, call back prospects, go to networking events, all the things that the other personality types really don't want to do. They're going to be out in the community promoting the brand, right? So that's a great place for them to be. What would the lion do?
Maybe team lead.
They'd be team lead. They could come in at the end and make sure if things were getting a little haywire, they could come in and get everybody settled down and close the deal, right? Right? They could be a negotiator within the transaction. We're losing our negotiations here. Let's bring the lion in, right? How about the golden retriever? Did they talk your client down off a ledge when things were going crazy and the appraisal didn't come in and the home inspection's bad? Could they not be that person? Yeah, they certainly could. And how about the compliance person? How about the beaver? What could they do?
You just answered the question.
Yeah, I mean, they could review the contracts, right? They can make sure that the HUD statement is correct. They can make sure all the paperwork's going to the lender. They could do all of those things for you. And here's the thing, they're all going to excel at that particular task because they're in the right position. So what I want to challenge you to do is determine what personality type you have.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go around the room and just see what you think about yourself and see if you're in the right position in your business. So what do you think you are? Lion?
I'm a lion, definitely.
Okay.
But my secondary is otter.
Is otter. Okay,
Yeah,
that's very common.
I'm feeling a lot now because I'm feeling like I have 3 of them in there. Would probably be the lion, otter, and the golden.
But lion's probably your top one.
Maybe.
Decisive.
Okay.
Alexis, what do you feel you are?
A golden
A
retriever.
golden retriever. So isn't it funny? You're answering the same way as you did when who you want to work with. That's how you are. And we're all that way for the most part because we want to mirror back what we are. Because that's what we know. But most people are not actually our personality type. There's a good chance percentage-wise that they're going to be one of the other 3. So we've got to know how to work with them. Which personality do you feel you are?
I think I'm a golden otter.
Golden otter. Okay. Yeah, my mentor was a golden otter. That's what he was, actually. And it was one of the best people to learn from because he was outgoing enough, but steady enough to where he didn't go off the rails. How about yourself?
Lion otter.
Lion otter. Very good.
I'll go golden otter.
Golden otter. Good.
I think I'm 100% golden.
100% golden. Yep. So your personality type is actually, from a client standpoint, the easiest personality to get along with because it's predictable, it's reliable. I don't know, are you somebody who people go to for advice? Yeah. Okay. So that's just going to be how it is for your whole life because you're very dependable. You're very reassuring. You make people feel safe, and that's a very important part. So that's really great as a real estate professional because if you make them feel safe, then they're going to know, like, and trust you.
Golden otter too.
Golden otter. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, do you guys want to take a stab at my personality type?
You're an otter.
I was gonna say, dang, I had your all down pack at first. I forgot I gotta come back.
Kind of an otter, maybe.
I got golden and an otter together.
Golden otter.
Golden otter.
Okay. So I am like a purebred otter.
Oh, okay.
The golden that you see in me is me doing what I don't want to do. And that is being organized and being thoughtful, being here on time this morning. That is not innate to me. That is my secondary learned personality type. So we talk about how you have a high and you have a low. my high is otter, which is chaos. Yet, if you come in my office in the Hernando chapter, you'll see that it's very organized and stuff, but that is not my natural style. My natural style is stuff all over my desk, my drawers just full of papers, just complete chaos. But could I do that and serve you guys well? Absolutely not. So I have to not do what comes naturally to me. And sometimes I have to go, remember the 80-20 rule. Remember the 80-20 rule? What's the 80-20 rule?
Listen 80, speak 20.
Listen 80, speak 20. Hard for an otter to do, right? Because when you're listening 80, you feel like you're talking, none whatsoever. But a golden retriever does a good job of hearing things and then responding. Otters just talk. You ever go to a networking event and everybody's just, you can't even hear yourself think. It's just, that's a bunch of otters in there. That's how they talk, right? So I hope this has opened your eyes a little bit to the different personality types and some of the things to really keep in mind as you're working with your customers. And next time you get a new potential client, ask yourself, what of the 4 personality types are they? And you'll be really surprised in how much it helps you to be able to identify that and then to work with them. Because right now you're probably working against them and you're not really aware of it because you're just doing what comes naturally to yourself. That's what we all do. But once you learn what their type is, you can much better serve them and also understand that maybe they're not unpleasant. Maybe they're just a lion, right? No offense to the lions, but lions come off, and we talked about it earlier with the president, right? People go, boy, what a mean person. But if you're trying to get a deal done, he's not a mean person. He's the most effective person, right? If you were litigating and your child had been hurt in a car accident, he was a litigator and got the result you wanted, he would be your best friend. So lions can feel stingy like that. So just, think about that in your training. Does everybody know where to find all of our classes online? realestate.events. So all of our classes are posted online at realestate.events. You can sign up for them, register for them there. We do offer our classes online, and we also offer them in person. And we have 5 locations. We do classes out of 4 of them: Spring Hill, Port Richey, Trinity, and Wesley Chapel. This intensity is rotating throughout all of the locations. So you'll see it sometimes in Port Richey and sometimes in Spring Hill, and of course a lot here and also in Wesley Chapel. I hope that you were able to get something new and good at it today. We try to really keep the online webinars to less than an hour and a half, just so they don't go so long. We have very busy schedules. But I'm available if you have questions afterwards, or if you want to learn a little bit more, I'd be glad to talk with you. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.